good morning, everybody. Thank you all for being here. If you're able, if everybody could please stand, and we'll have the Plattsmouth High School Air Force Junior ROTC present our nation's colors. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Let's give our young students a kudos. Thank you. Let's please sit down, make ourselves comfortable. I get to share a few remarks with you, and maybe first off, I can't tell you thank you enough for your extraordinary service and impact all of you have made to preserve life, liberty, and our freedom. So one thing I always try to do in the Werner Chambers before I maybe will try to really hold close to the corn here this morning would be our state capitol is extraordinary. I don't know if anybody, how many of you have been in this room before? So a number of you. For those of you that you haven't, and even those that have been, so this was originally the Senate, and I think we became a unicameral maybe in 1937 or something like that. But this was the Senate before then, and the names are the last vote that took place in this room as the Senate. But a piece that's so extraordinary about our Capitol that I'm touched deeply by is all the murals that are throughout our Capitol. If you go in and then go down the rotunda, all the murals, and all the murals speak to every one of us, to who we are. There's a story for each of us. And now this room is incredible. I love being in the Werner Chambers because just take a look up and look at the murals. And every time I look up, first person I think about is Chief Standing Bearer. Extraordinary, extraordinary. I am a man. Think about, is everybody aware Chief Standing Bearer was the first civil rights case in the history of our country. Chief Standing Bearer went back. The Ponca tribe was ordered to go to Oklahoma, and when his son got sick, he made his father pledge that he would take him back and bury him in Nebraska. And it took a grueling 6 months through the winter to get back, and he was arrested after he buried his son for defying law and coming back to Nebraska. And he stood before an Omaha judge. He stood before an Omaha judge and said, "When I hit my finger, I feel pain just like you do. When I cut my finger, I bleed and I have blood just like you do. I am a man." And that Omaha judge was the first to recognize Native Americans as men, as people in our country. Our heritage and who we are is extraordinary. And that's one message that I want to give. This calling to be your governor happened about 3 years ago. Some say, when did you want to become a governor? I said, well, that's wrong. I never wanted to be governor. But this calling happened, and one of the questions that I've asked over and over, everywhere I go, is what's the one thing you love the most about Nebraska? What's the one thing you love the most about Nebraska? Yeah, the people. It's the people. Sometimes us lifetimers, probably like Jerry and I, we'd sit here and we'd look down and kick the dirt, don't know what to say, because we just think we're normal. Trust me, if there's one message you remember today, please, we are an extraordinary special people from all walks of life, every country. We are not normal. Anytime, we are extraordinary. So we have to start bragging. We have to start recognizing what a special place it is, and we have to tell our kids, because it's all about our kids. I'm your governor on 4 words: kids, taxes, agriculture, values. Our kids are most important. And if we don't brag about what extraordinary people we are, I've never met a human being in my life that doesn't want to be around great people, right? And the greatest people on the planet are right here in this room. It's really important that we quit being so humble and have a gift of appreciation about how incredible people we are. Really, really important. Everywhere I go, I was just in McCool, as an example, I was in McCool Junction a week ago. We recognized a young girl who had saved 4 of her classmates in a bus accident. The bus driver lost his life. And there was a lady that came up to me in the school, said, "I'm from Philadelphia, I'm a teacher here." I said, "Well, thank you for being a teacher, incredible." And I said, "What do you love the most about Nebraska?" Couldn't get it out, the people. There's a young person I said, "Where are you from?" He says, "I'm from Los Angeles." I go, "Los Angeles? You're a teacher at McCool Junction?" "Yeah, I'm a student teacher. I'm a student over at Concordia. I'm student teaching." I said, "You going to stay in Nebraska?" "I sure am." I said, "What do you love the most about Nebraska?" "The people." Everywhere, it's the people. So us lifetimers have to do a better job of being appreciative of how extraordinary people we are. We're not normal. We're incredible. We are filled full of love and life, and that's the part where I get to the Vietnam veterans. I had a couple extraordinary moments when you guys were veterans. I'm just young enough. I was young enough to know what Walter Cronkite said every night at the end of, that's the way it was, and how many people lost their lives, the tally every day. It was like yesterday. We had a neighbor just 150 yards from where we lived, west of Platte Center. And Dale got severely wounded with a head injury. And then his mom went to Laos, and then we had a Sunday night. Then, back then they had the party lines, remember those? And then all of us went over to the Lowski's house, and Loretta called home to talk about Dale. So those are things that when you're 11 and 12 impact you for your life. And then there was a guy in Platte Center named Tuffy Novak. Tuffy always was so great to these kids. He lost his life serving. And so I want you to know that as your governor, kids, taxes, agriculture, values. For agriculture, my job is to defend agriculture, grow agriculture, and sell it. So the first place we went, and it was very intentional, last year we went to Vietnam. And a number of friends that I know that served said, gee, Jim, I wish I could go with you, because the people of Vietnam were extraordinary. And so the first place, Vietnam today. Vietnam today is one party. We started out in Saigon. It's called Ho Chi Minh City today. That part was a little hard emotionally at first, but what I can tell you about Vietnam, we were the first to be there since the pandemic. We visited 3 different state governors, and then we ended up in Hanoi. Drove past. Did anybody here have to survive, be in the prison in Hanoi? Anybody? Drove past that, you know, where the John McCain, and drove past that. Those were emotional moments. But what was fascinating about our time there is everywhere that we went, they absolutely exuded so much grace, treated us like gold, covered us everywhere we went for the 8 days we were there. In Columbus, there's a few Vietnamese families, and one of them my wife knows pretty well, and they said, lady said, you know, I'm talking, my mom's texting sending a thing every night and says, Jim's on the TV every night in Vietnam, you know, pretty silly. But here's what happened that I want to share that was extraordinary, and I hope that this can touch you because of where we all were and all the different things we were working on selling Nebraska products in Vietnam. The Prime Minister of Vietnam heard about it, and before we left, he reached out and he wanted to have a meeting. So we had a meeting in Hanoi at the Capitol, the big place, and I sat, farm boy from Platte Center, I sat in a big chair next to the Prime Minister of Vietnam. We had an hour meeting. I can't hear worth a darn, have to deal with the interpreters, but we sat there talking about our countries. We talked about you. We talked about you. Prime Minister said, Prime Minister of Vietnam said, please, when you go home, please tell the Vietnam veterans, I'm grateful. We are the country we are because of the United States and the sacrifices the Vietnam veterans made. We are a country that has been healing and we are recovering. Today, because of the sacrifices that were made by the people here, Vietnam is 100 million people. 50 million of the people of Vietnam are 40 years and younger. They are, if you didn't know they were a one-party system, you would believe it's a Western, Western practice, Western market, thriving economy, people moving everywhere. Their economy is growing the fastest in Southeast Asia. We are selling soybean meal, we're selling Nebraska beef, we're selling products because they need our help. And none of that would be possible. None of that would be possible without the sacrifices of the people that are made here. And so I've had extraordinary privileges in the first 15 months being your governor. And for me, last year's event on the 50th anniversary, and we did pinning of veterans, and maybe some were here last year for that. Extraordinary moment. And I just can't tell you from my heart how grateful all Nebraskans are, how grateful I am personally, how grateful we are for your sacrifice and your service. You are certainly not forgotten. Your work is greatly appreciated, and I hope that touches you deeply. So thank you for allowing me to spend a little bit of time. And with that, I want to introduce John Hilgert, our Director of Veterans Affairs. Really grateful for today and putting today on, John. And John's got a few remarks.
Well, I do have a few remarks, and then after that, we'll proceed to the signing of the proclamation. 64,000 Nebraskans deployed during the Vietnam War. 35,000 Nebraskans are with us today in Nebraska that served in Vietnam. 396 Nebraskans didn't make it home. And there's still 15 Nebraskans that are still missing in action. And I would like to, at this time, if we could have a moment of silence and remember not only the 396, but the 15 that are still missing. Thank you. The pen that you'll be receiving is meaningful. If you take a look at it when you receive it, there's an eagle on it. The eagle represents courage, honor, dedicated service to our nation. The blue on it matches the blue on our flag, signifying vigilance, perseverance, and justice. But I think the most significant part of that pen is the part that you're only going to see when you put it on, because it's on the other side. And it says, "A grateful nation thanks and honors you." And it's on the other side because that side is closest to your heart and represents how close you are to the heart of this nation. Thank you. Thank you all for your service, and welcome home. I see some familiar faces, but I actually see some folks that I'm not sure I've met before, so I do want to put a plug in. If you're not a member of a veteran service organization for whatever reason, there's a lot of water that went over the dam on that whole thing. As a Gulf War veteran, I experienced a tiny bit of what some of you experienced when you came home, just a tiny bit. Please join a veteran service organization. Your voice is amplified many, many, many times across that rotunda in that room if you're a member of a veteran service organization. And the second thing is we have a lot of, someone called it propaganda, out in the rotunda, our benefits that we have in Nebraska. We've continued to work, but we've worked for years to try to make Nebraska one of the most veteran-friendly states. Please access your benefits if you're not already doing so. Had to put that in. Please let us continue to serve you. And with that, Governor,
so before we do the presentations of the pins, as your governor, get to do proclamations, and those are cool things. So let me hit the really important stuff. Whereas Vietnam veterans was commemorated by Presidential Proclamation and Public Law 93-232 on March 29, 1974, by Presidential Proclamation and Congressional Resolution on March 12, 2012, and whereas 58,220 Americans made the ultimate sacrifice, 396 of whom were Nebraskans, and more than 300,000 were wounded, and whereas 1,577 Americans are still missing and unaccounted for, 15 of whom are from Nebraska, and their families and friends and fellow veterans still endure uncertainty concerning their fate. Now therefore be I, Jim Pillen of the great state of Nebraska, do hereby proclaim the 29th day of March 2024 as Vietnam War Veterans Day in Nebraska, and I do hereby urge all citizens to take due notice. See, I got one here. Congratulations. Thank you.
So with that, we'll begin the pinning, and this aisle is not the widest of aisles, and I know we're kind of close quarters here. So we're going to start in the front of the room. Simply stand, file in, receive your pin, and then go back to your seat, or you can go back and read up on some of the benefits that we provide in the state of Nebraska. You know, Governor, you taught us to brag, and we need to brag about the services we provide, and we appreciate that. And please, if you have a pin already from last year, we would like to make sure that those who haven't received one yet, make sure to get a pin. So if you haven't received a pin, come on up, and then Levi, our Deputy Director, and Holden Armstrong, Communications Director, will assist the Governor. So if you want to begin, front row, file in. There you go. Thank you.